This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Aaron McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am back. I know you guys were all missing me last week when you had to listen to John drone on forever about the Lions. I kid. He's a good guy. He does good work. But if you don't know who I am, Jason Jarvie, follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And with me, as always, the guy you heard all last week and you hear on pretty much every single show on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, John the Doc Macaroon. What's up, sir?
You're a dick.
Yes, I am.
What do you mean I was droning on and on? It was one of my favorite performances of all time. And so for those of you that don't know, Jason, is about to be a proud papa. I'm super excited, almost as excited as he is, because I have a feeling that once he's born, your son is going to be donned in the green and white, and everyone's going to give him some great presents. And you get a little something from the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. But to say that I droned on and on and on, that day I said, you know what? I got about an hour in between my visits. I'm just going to fire it up, close my eyes, and just speak the truth. And it just came out literally almost in one take. That's how much the Lions mean to me and how much, their up and down struggles affect me. And once the playoffs were out of the question and they were not able to advance in their performance versus Seattle, I said to myself, you know what? More of the same. It's kind of a season where, and we'll talk about it, where you look at it and you go, they are far away. Bob Quinn said it. It's one of those situations where they need a lot of pieces. They need to fill a lot of holes in order to get to where, these teams that are remaining are. And I know later on, you want to talk about how much it sucks to watch Green Bay advance, but I'm going to disagree with you a little bit in that I found myself, when I watched on Saturday and Sunday, being extremely jealous of the four remaining teams, because that is the upper echelon of the NFL. Those four quarterbacks that are left are the best out there, and those are the four best teams.
Well, of course. Why wouldn't you be jealous of seeing these teams doing stuff that you just wish the Lions would do it? And I know I didn't get on the Lions as much as you did about playing conservatively and playing to not turn the ball over. But it's just because it's part of that we don't have the personnel and we don't have the coaching. Our coaches, they don't trust our players to go out there and make, just call interesting plays that can either kill you or they will give you huge gains. And that's how you make it in the playoffs. That's how you make it in the NFL. These teams, this divisional round, they were all really good games. Outside of the Patriots and Texans, they were all really close games. And I knew going in that it was going to be a really fun weekend for football. And it's disheartening that the Lions just don't have that. And watching the games with my wife is just like, so why can't the Lions do that? What is it? Is it players or is it coaching? And I'm like, it really is. It's both. We don't have a running. I think the biggest thing is that we don't have a running game, that you can't rely on any running back to go out there and fall forward and get you 7 yards a pop. You got a bunch of garbage and a bunch of 6th and 7th round players, undrafted players, who maybe for a play here and there, they can give you some good pickups, but consistently for the entire game, you don't have that. And the coaches, they know that, and they're not adaptive.
So following the Lions' 26-6 loss to the Seattle Seahawks, I know you weren't able to talk about it, but first off, were you surprised or pleasantly surprised that I set up a group chat between myself, you, and Adam and just let it rip going throughout the game? The reason why I did that was also I wanted to get your real reactions to what was going on. And I was at my sister's house for her birthday, so my sister-in-law's house, and I didn't want to kind of be the guy that was just like screaming and yelling. So I was kind of subdued, watching it calmly, and as it played out, it just kind of wasn't as frustrated live in person, but I was definitely taking it out on the cell phone. I'm like, what is going on here with the drops, the terrible performance, and stuff like that? And I know you were getting a little bit fired up too, because it's not like we expected them to win, but what stunk was the fact that the Lions just didn't compete and play a decent game at all.
Yeah, the Lions, going back to that game, they didn't come to play. And you saw they didn't score a touchdown. And you're unless you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you can kick 6 field goals and hold the other team to under 18, you're not going to win football games. It's mind-boggling. And
so take me through it. How did you react? How did you kind of respond to what was going on when the Lions played Seattle? Because it was tough. I mean, I was kind of numb to it once. I mean, it was close up until the fourth quarter, but they just never gave you the sense like they were actually going to compete and come back, because there were drops. There were mistakes. They just didn't look like a team that came to the arena ready to win the game. They looked like they were resigned to the fact that, hey, we're participants. We're going to walk out of here with our participation award, and let's get the hell out of here.
I mean, really, if you ask me, the only guy who came to play on that day was Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford actually came, and I thought he competed at a high level. And we said it right from the first quarter. Of their first 4 drives, 3 of those were ended by drops. And it wasn't just one guy. It was Eric Ebron, Aaron Kwong Bolden, and Golden Tate. All 3 of those guys. And it wasn't like these were overthrown or thrown behind them. These were thrown right at their hands in the numbers, and they flat out dropped it. I concede that it would have been a tough game for the Lions to win anyways. But when you're already killing yourself like that, there's no way you're going to win. Going off topic with this is that I know we probably still would have lost, but I would have loved to see what would have happened if the refs would have made some of those calls that they missed. In particular, the touchdown to Paul Richardson that was, it was the greatest catch in the world, but he was face masking our defensive back. And there was the long run that I forget who had it, whether it was Thomas Rawls, and they praised Russell Wilson for getting up in the play and putting a block, but he put a block in the back. It hurt my head, but it's what happens. And for whatever reason, it always seems to happen to the Lions. Maybe that is a defeatist attitude, and maybe that is me whining a little bit, but when it happens year in and year out, we don't get the calls. Come on, man. I would feel a little bit better if we still would have lost, if all that stuff didn't happen. But just kind of look at it next year.
Yeah, that's it. Always next year. And so, they finished the season with 9 wins, 8 losses. And that's, in essence, what we all kind of thought was going to happen, was going to be an up and down team. But you kind of always, with the Lions, feel like it's a wasted opportunity, like a wasted season, because the teams in the NFC weren't that great, and you were able to handle your business against teams that weren't that, that solid. But then when you had you had everything in front of you, you had 4 games in order to try and do stuff against the upper echelon in the NFC, against the likes of Green Bay, Dallas, the Giants. You weren't able to handle your business, and then in the playoffs, you go out there and you saw what Atlanta was able to do to Seattle. Matt Ryan was able to go out there and put up offensive numbers. Granted, the game was at home, but don't you think? It was
at home, but they adapted the way that they played. They know that the Legion of Boom can shut down their playmaking wide receivers. And while they still did throw it to those guys, they were able to offset that with their running backs and being able to have quick passes to them, and they're actually dynamic runners, which we didn't have. Theo Riddick, he does provide that for us, but he was out for pretty much the last quarter of the season, so we didn't have that player who was that safety valve for Matt Stafford. So it's just another thing that compounds the failure of this season.
Yeah, so then, the following weekend happens, and you get to see really what the upper echelon teams are doing, and you get a chance to see what Pittsburgh, you get a chance to see what New England can do, you get a chance to see what Green Bay can do, you get a chance to see how Atlanta performs under pressure, and then you go, look, who remains? The 4 best quarterbacks in the league.
And you could argue Matt Ryan might not be in the top 4. He's had a great season, but as far as top 4 quarterbacks in the league, I think I would put Drew Brees in the top 4. I think Matt Ryan, he's in the top 10 definitely, and he's definitely in the upper half of that. But
all you gotta say is this: you take Matt Ryan on the Lions.
On the Lions, no. I just
Matt Ryan on the Lions is a playoff team and they get a victory. Are you kidding me right now?
Matt Ryan on the Lions, I think we would still lose. I'm saying we might be a little bit better, but I'm not sure if anybody could really save this team. I think the only people who could save this team is you put Aaron Rodgers on this team. You put Aaron Rodgers and he's able to dance and do his magic and get the ball to our receivers. Matt Ryan, he's the benefactor of having Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, and guys who can actually catch the ball. I just don't see it. I don't see another quarterback on this team. And this is not me saying that Matthew Stafford is the greatest quarterback in the world, but this is my outlook for the Lions. Is the way the team was constructed, we weren't going to win unless you had 7 or 8 more key components on the team, like a running back, like a linebacker, like another safety. You just weren't going to win a playoff game this year. You couldn't say that factually that if this team was going to win this year. Any prediction of a Lions victory is based in fandom. Then that's the truth.
I would tell you that if Matt Ryan was on the Detroit Lions, I feel like maybe there would be potentially a little bit more leadership. There might be a little bit more of a group that maybe believed more. Because look, you don't think that the receivers that Atlanta has are really that much better than the Lions receivers?
Julio Jones is one of the best receivers in the league.
Okay, granted, he's a solid number one. And I know they have emerging talent young.
Devontae Freeman is one of the best running backs in the league. Tevin Coleman is one of the best pass-catching running backs in the league. And he's also, if he had a chance, he is a very good running back as a number one guy. We don't have that on the Lions. There's no way. It would have been the same results. Matt Ryan, we haven't heard about Matt Ryan's leadership. It's literally been this year that he's, it's his second year under Kyle Shanahan in that offense that things finally clicked. And it all fell together for them.
Okay, if Matt Ryan was on the line throughout the whole season, you think they're 9-7? Against that soft schedule, you don't think they can maybe defeat or have a stronger chance to defeat Green Bay? Maybe that would allow the Lions to have an opportunity to play at home?
I think it's the same thing. You still get this, because it's not like you're bringing the Atlanta coaching staff over here. I think Dan Quinn, Kyle Shanahan, those guys are dynamic coaches who actually are able to adapt in game and be able to come up with a good game plan. You still get Jim Caldwell and Jim Bob Cooter and Terrell Austin. You get the vanilla defense or the vanilla offense and defense. It would be the same thing unless you bring in Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. There's no difference in this season.
Okay, I just tend to disagree. I feel like another quarterback on this team might be able to get more out of the guys. I think Matthew Stafford's injury definitely played a part, and we can't poo-poo that. But at the same time, I do believe Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they have that intangible that I think Matthew Stafford right now lacks because, of course, there's weaknesses all across the Lions. They don't have a running back. The wide receivers didn't help at all. But there's something about a quarterback that just at any opportunity, look at Green Bay. They were up 21-3 against Dallas on the road. Okay, and all of a sudden, Dallas comes back, and they ride the momentum. Okay, the game is tied. 35 seconds left. If Matthew Stafford had the ball for Green Bay, do you think he zings it like that to make that play to, get the ball, when it's a second and long situation or third and long situation and earn a first down? I don't believe Matthew Stafford makes that throw. I was sitting there in awe of that throw. He literally zinged it right to the guy, and of course the receiver made I believe it was the receiver, the tight end.
Jared Cook, yep, tight end.
The tight end made an unbelievable catch to get 2 feet down, but I just looked at the throw and go, oh my goodness, it looked like it was effortless to get the ball there, and a guy like Aaron Rodgers has that intangible, has that magic, where with 35 seconds left, I tweeted out, I felt like it was too much time.
But he's the only quarterback who could do that. You couldn't put Matt Ryan on the Green Bay Packers. He would not have been able to make that throw because Matt Ryan historically doesn't make those throws. This is the season that he's actually been able to do that.
Right, and so with the Lions, obviously, I do believe Bob Quinn is surveyed the landscape. He's watched Matthew Stafford, and he realizes, listen, there's not too many better out there. There's not an Aaron Rodgers just waiting in the wings. They don't want to wait and develop another quarterback. I'm of the opinion, and I go, well, is there a Dak Prescott out there? maybe you could find that diamond in the rough if you build an offensive line and you get a solid running back. Then maybe you can get a $600,000 quarterback and have him, kind of zing the ball around and have some intangibles. Can the Lions find that guy? Probably not, and I don't think they want to invest in that.
And that takes time too. The Dak Prescott, that was a perfect situation. That offensive line was perfectly set up. You draft Ezekiel Elliott, who turns out to be probably one of the best running backs in the league right now, and then Ezekiel Elliott just got handed the reins to that. Not to mention you get Des Bryant and then a bunch of receivers who can at least catch the ball in Cole Beasley and Terrence Williams. Not to mention you get the veteran Jason Witten. It was a perfect situation. And that would take time to build.
See, and that's why when Bob Quinn came, I would not have blamed him for destroying everything, letting go of Stafford, letting go of the coach, and just starting over with saying, I'm going to build a team that I believe is going to win the Super Bowl. Because right now, what I feel like is happening is they're caught exactly dead square right in the middle. They're right there close to the playoffs. They can probably, with a little bit of upgrades in free agency, in the draft, get a victory, maybe two. But are they anywhere near close to competing with the teams that are left? Hell no. They're another 2-3 years away, if that. And then you're stuck in the same situation with your quarterback and your head coach, meaning that, do you really believe Bob Quinn's going to let Jim Caldwell dangle out there and be a lame duck head coach? I don't think so, but he may do it. And I don't think that is in and of itself the right decision either, because, whether it's right or wrong, NFL players may tune him out next year with that tough schedule. They may say, you know what? If the organization didn't extend him, why would I potentially want to invest in Jim Caldwell or keep paying attention, even though we're around 500, we might be struggling a little bit? Why would I invest if the writing's on the wall that Jim Caldwell is going to be booted? I feel like when we talk in a year from now, we're going to be just talking about the same kind of thing where it's going to be a kind of a mediocre kind of season. Jim Caldwell is going to be gone, and you could have started at this same point. Instead of 2018, you could have started it when you got the job. Blow the whole thing up, build a line, get a running back, and go from there. And I don't think you would have been that far away to sell to the fans that, hey, we're building something different here. That, we had Matthew Stafford for 7 years, and unfortunately, I didn't see nothing with it. And this year, you didn't see nothing with it. He had all the yards. You neutered him. And I think Matthew Stafford's injury actually is probably the luckiest thing that ever happened to him. He has an excuse.
I think that is all fan talking, though. It just logistically and as an NFL.
What do you mean fan talking? Why did they blow up the front office? Because everyone felt like the drafts were terrible. There was no direction. There was no hope that the Lions were going to win the Super Bowl.
Everybody on the team. You can't.
Why not?
Because then you have to go out and you have to sign a bunch of scrubs. You don't.
Jason, okay.
The free agency isn't littered with an entire roster of players.
No. What I'm saying is you don't sign a roster of scrubs. You keep potentially, you definitely have now built an offensive line. You've got maybe the mistake you made in bringing Marvin Jones. You might have just, wrote out someone else. Maybe you have a higher draft pick this year if you struggle. Then you go, you know what? Now I get another lineman. I focus exclusively on the defense and offensive lines, build from there. Then, you could say, hey, I could throw in a Jake Rudock, see what he does, and then keep looking for the guy that's going to bring you the intangibles. And I know everyone's like, the search for a quarterback is the number one search, and there's 15 teams looking for a quarterback. But don't you think that when Dallas is viewed by the pundits, by you and I, by anybody, they could argue that you could plug anybody with an offensive line like that, with a running back like that could probably get you 9 or 10 wins. So if you just say, listen, we're going to build everything around the quarterback first, then we'll plug in a quarterback that we think can probably do the job, I would say that you might have an opportunity to be further ahead in the same 3-year window than you're going to be with the Lions. Bob Quinn will have been here 2 years, okay, with Jim Caldwell around for 2 years. You could have been further along in that third year. That third year, I believe, there's going to be a new head coach.
I just don't think fans want both sides of the coin. They want to eat they want to they want the cake and they want to eat it too. They want everything. You want to rebuild, but then you don't want to drop off.
No, I'm saying drop off. I would have fully, if Bob Quinn comes in and blew the whole thing up year one, hey, you get 2 wins, 3 wins, whatever. I don't care. Then you get the 5th pick, boom, get another draft pick, boom. Now you get another offensive lineman. Then in the first draft or second draft, you pick up a legitimate running back. You pick up a lineman, boom. Now you got a young offensive offensive line that you can plug in a nice running back that can do the job. Then in year 3, hey, maybe you get, year 1, 3 wins, year 2, 7 wins. Now in year 3, boom, go out there and find a quarterback that can do the job.
Sounds so simple when you say it, but it's never that. Do you have any confidence that somebody from the Lions could actually do that, though?
I thought Bob Quinn was the guy to do it, but I really believe like he's looking like everybody else is like, well, that's what I'm saying is Bob Quinn is surveying the landscape and goes, hey, we can at least get to the postseason with these guys. That's fine, but he's also taking advantage of a starving fan base that realizes, hey, if I can just sell them one playoff win in my regime in the first 3 years, that could literally guarantee him his 10 to 12 years with the Lions. If he just gets one playoff win. My goal is not that. My goal is not to just scrape into the playoffs and beat Dallas or scrape into the playoffs and beat Cincinnati. I don't want to be that. I want to say, how do I build a unit on offense and defense and a culture that every 2 or 3 years we're legitimately pushing to get into the Super Bowl and go for the gusto and win it all.
I think that is what Bob Quinn is trying to do. That's from what we've seen. When he came in, he said he wants to build the draft. He went out, he made the one big signing with Marvin Jones, and then he just filled the spaces. And then he came out this year. He said, we're probably not going to make a huge splash in free agency. Mm-hmm. The plan is to build through the draft. And I think it's going to take time, and that's where he wants to go. If you really believe that Bob Quinn is the guy who can go out, can evaluate talent, and fill this roster, why not just do it with the cast of characters that we have? We have a Matthew. We have a franchise quarterback.
I feel like the ceiling with this cast of characters is a playoff win or 2. That's my feeling.
But
if this cast of characters,
but that's the thing
isn't
is
good
that
enough.
every year you put new players on the team, depending on where we finish. The Patriots they're always drafting anywhere from 20 and below, and they're also moving and they're trading draft picks. They're just stockpiling. They're getting players outside of the first and second round. So if you have faith in Bob Quinn, have faith in Bob Quinn. And I think that's the road that you got to go down. And
what I'm saying is, as the doc, my hope is waning a little bit. Not a lot. Maybe his luster for me and my approval rating for him went down maybe 15 points from like an 85, 90 to a 70 because I'm starting in my head to percolate and think. And if you heard episode 91 on DetroitSportsPodcast.com, you can see my thesis. And my thesis is, if Bob Quinn's agenda and his goal is to win the Super Bowl, then you don't ride the roller coaster. You don't take the motorcycle. You don't keep partying with Jim Caldwell. I think it's time to move on because that guy, that party only has a certain, outcome. And I think that's what I'm saying is that I feel like with Jim Caldwell, with Matthew Stafford, there's only a certain ceiling. And I don't see that ceiling being getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. I see potentially a Dallas-Cincinnati type situation where you press, you have good years. I think what's next for the Lions is a 14-2 year and a first-round exit at home. That's what's next in terms of devastating losses because, that's what we're building up to. A great season, an unbelievable run, building everyone's hopes up. We're going to do it all and have a home playoff game and a guy like Aaron Rodgers rolls up into your crib and dominates you.
But that's what the playoffs are about. That's why we don't just declare somebody a winner at the end of the season. In the playoffs, anything can happen. And if we can somehow get a home playoff win, or if we even just get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
What? Home playoff win? Oh, my God. Home playoff game? Let's start with that. Let's get a game at home. My goodness. See, that's what I'm saying. A victory seems so far down the road that playoff success just seems like it's super tough. The way that the Lions are built, the way they play.
I'm not going to count them out for next year.
Oh,
every year.
Look at the schedule.
I don't care about the schedule. Look, every year you go into the season 0-0. I want to see what Bob Quinn is going to do, what he adds to this team. I want to see if somehow they can find a running back in this draft. I would love that because I'm just so tired of Joique Bell and Zach Zenner and Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah. We haven't had a running game since 1999. Okay. At this point, give me James Stewart.
We're going to definitely talk in a few minutes here about what the Lions' needs are in order to compete, to potentially get to the postseason and have some success. But let's start right at the top. Bob Quinn's job, and he came out and had a press conference, I believe, last Thursday. And he kind of talked and he answered and he was respectful and he said, hey, I know what the job is. It was eye-opening that we lost the last 4 games. But, he said that he made the decision during the season to keep Jim Caldwell. But he did emphasize when he was asked, hey, I didn't extend him. that he might be willing to roll out in the 2017 season with Jim Caldwell on a one-year deal. And basically, in essence, what everybody calls it is a lame duck, meaning that he does not have a guaranteed contract beyond. So that is unconventional in terms of what people do in terms of handling their head coach. And the reason why general managers extend their coaches is in order to send the message to the players that, hey, Jim Caldwell is the guy. We don't want to have beyond any shadow of a doubt that there's one voice and he's going to be here. So many people believe that, it's not the best idea to lame duck Jim Caldwell, and that if there's going to be continuity and you're hearing all the players rave and rant and, oh, I love Jim Caldwell, he's such a great leader and gives us all this respect. So many believe that in order to avoid that, Bob Quinn needs to extend Jim Caldwell. Do you agree with that?
I think you can look at this conversely, that the way Jim Caldwell has put this team together and how he leads this team, it's completely unconventional. You would have assumed that by now, by the beginning of this season, that they would have just completely turned on Jim Caldwell. But you saw that in spite of his poor in-game management, the team still rallied around him. They still support him. And I think you can look at it both ways. That, if he's under a one-year contract, that he's likely going to be out at the end of the year, that they could just turn on him. But you can also see what they've done so far, that they do respect Jim Caldwell, and that just maybe they come in next year and they actually play, and they're doing this for Jim Caldwell, that they somehow make some sort of leap and play better. And if not, then we get rid of Jim Caldwell. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that either way. But I don't think you can say, I wouldn't call it a lame duck, because I don't think he's at that status. I don't think he's lost the locker room. I think you'll look at a guy like Brad Ausmus. Brad Ausmus has lost the locker room, and for whatever reason, he's back with the Tigers. Or you can even look at Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy, that team may not like what he's preaching in this point. I think Jim Caldwell, he probably has the most respect from his players of any coach in Detroit right now.
So you're saying that you might agree with Bob Quinn in what he said is that I'm just going to let it play out and see what happens. And there would not be a problem because he already has a certain level of respect, and you're not doubting or having any issue with the lame duck status. You think that Bob Quinn and the direction he's going to take is just to let him play out his deal in 2017?
That's what I would do. If you weren't going to fire him this year, which I do agree, it would, as a fan, I would love to see Jim Caldwell gone. I don't know who you bring in, but I would be excited to see who you were going to try and lead this team. But if you're going to let him go into next season, then I wouldn't. Why extend him? Because then I don't know. Unless you're just going to fire him at the end of next season, and then it's just you have to pay him money then. You have to pay him extra money. I think you should be fine with just the 1 year.
Okay, speaking to our debate about Matt Ryan, Keith PK writes to our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, no doubt Ryan's a better quarterback. Stafford may have a stronger arm, but Ryan is a better decision maker. I do believe when I check the Twitter support that it's going to be in my favor and that Matt
big
Ryan.
Surprise, because because Matt Ryan has actually done okay. Yeah, because the Twitter loves me, and whenever I say something that's controversial, they all hate me. Like, Trey Thomas Tatar at the top of his at the peak of his, when the going is good.
Well, let me give you my
I hate you, John.
Let me give you my thinking on Jim Caldwell. See, that's why I do believe Bob Quinn might have the balls to lame duck him and not extend him, because it's a perfect out. Really, he had an opportunity right when he got the job to blow out Jim Caldwell. He sees that, okay, this is a team that's going to play for Jim Caldwell. They're going to respect him. They're going to not have too many off-the-field situations. So Jim Caldwell has a deal, and they're going to let him honor it. I do believe Jim Caldwell has the respect of the room, and I do believe that, the players absolutely love playing for him. But now Bob Quinn is kind of, forced to make two tough decisions. What do I do with Jim Caldwell, and what do I do with Matthew Stafford? I think it is also a great idea to not extend Jim Caldwell. He's seen him when he had an easier schedule. You got to 9-7 and kind of played a terrible game in the postseason versus Seattle. Now, year two, You play a tougher schedule, you give him more talent, and now you see what he does with it. If he totally bombs and is in the 4 to 6 win range, you go, you know what? This is not the guy that I believe is going to actually help us. And this whole status of lame duck and things like that is something that the organization has to really go into the locker room and address with the players and say, hey, listen, your jobs are on the line always, and if you're going to stop playing for a coach, that's also on Jim Caldwell. It's his job to motivate the players to perform at the highest level. That's why I give him a big demerit and would have been willing to blow him out right then and there, right after Seattle, because that didn't look like a team that was ride or die for their coach. You can be ride or die throughout the season, okay? But the most important time for the organization, for the players to step up, is in the postseason. Right there, right then and there versus Seattle. That's kind of indicative of what Jim Caldwell is that he's a motivator. He's a guy that will get you to the postseason every couple years, but can he lead a squad and get them over the hump in tough games? I don't see it. So it's a win-win if Bob Quinn doesn't extend him, and unfortunately it puts me in the tough spot as a fan, as a guy who loves the Lions, to, again, in this year, kind of have to root for the Lions to struggle to blow out Jim Caldwell. Unfortunately, I have to say that's what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Jim Caldwell to struggle, and I'm rooting for the Lions to kind of have a 4-12 year next year.
If you're rooting for them to struggle, you're not a fan. I'm
a fan.
That is not being a fan. That's dumb.
No, it isn't. My intention is for them to kind of pull the Band-Aid off completely. What they're doing is just trying to patch up the situation and patch up their regular seasons and try to patch their way into the postseason. And I say, guys, you know what? This is a scab that needs to be ripped off, completely reopened again, and surgically repaired. And my goal is, and I hope I'm wrong. I always preface this by saying, I hope I'm wrong. But my thinking is, with Jim Caldwell, I don't see him standing there holding Lombardi Trophy. So with that said, what's the avenue to get him out faster? That's a 4-12 year. The worst thing that could happen next year is if they go 9-7 and get to the first round of the playoffs and lose. That's the worst thing that could happen next year, because that probably would earn him another extension. Or the other worst scenario is he gets to the postseason, gets one win, and loses. Because I think that's where the ceiling is. The ceiling is the NFC title game. The ceiling is maybe even to get to the Super Bowl. But I don't see the scenario in my thinking, and nothing has convinced me yet in terms of what I've seen with Caldwell, the reaction of his players, the way that they're conducting themselves in pressure moments. I don't see Matthew Stafford and Jim Caldwell holding the Lombardi Trophy on a Sunday in February. I just don't see it. And if you can convince me that Jim Caldwell can get us there and hold it, I'd love to have egg on my face. But as I see the facts, Jim Caldwell is, a gatekeeper coach like I thought he would be when he got here. And it's time to get the, unfortunately there's nobody available that just smack dab right in your face that will take you to the Super Bowl. There's nobody there. So that's why, Caldwell and Stafford are the luckiest guys in the world.
You just want everything right now, John. You're so needy.
I want it right now. It's been 2 years of this. I've been screaming for 2 years.
You just want your team to win all the time. And yeah, I want my team to win all the time.
Okay, do you see Jim Caldwell, let's say he's extended, whether or not you agree, we've already had that debate thousands of times. Do you see, if he's extended and the marriage is between Stafford and Jim Caldwell in the next 5 years, okay? From the time now that you just turned 30 years old, you're going to be mid-30s, 35, and I'll be 43, okay? Do you see in that window...
You're old.
I'm going to be old. Do you see us, celebrating success with that marriage?
I think it is a possibility.
I see divorce. I see divorce.
Until you see
I want a divorce
into this team... You're never going to know.
I want a divorce.
You're never going to divorce this team.
No, of course not. I love them. I love the Lions. And that's why, you can call me whatever you want. I love the Lions. I'd love to be wrong.
You're a hater is what you are.
I want the ultimate success, and I find the avenue is not with this marriage. I want a new marriage. I might take the quarterback, but I don't think I take the head coach.
You want to know what I think the ultimate haterish? I don't know what the term would be, but I think it's just turning on your team and turning on your city. We went out to B-Dubs last night, me and the wife. We got some dinner, and the Green Bay Cowboys game was on, and people there were rooting for Green Bay. Come on. You're rooting for Aaron Rodgers, the guy who every single year kills your team. You're rooting for Green Bay?
Oh, no!
It blows my mind. Unless you are somebody who... you were raised as a Packer fan, which I know a couple, and even then, it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Unless you were raised as a Packer fan and you don't root for the Lions, it makes no sense. A Lions fan rooting for a Packers fan.
Okay, Jason.
No sense at all.
I'm going to tell you, I used to think that way.
It's a disgrace.
I used to think that way up until this playoffs. I would say, you know what? You got to be ride or die with your team. But you know what? Each and every season that progresses now, I'm 37, okay? I've been watching the Lions since a little youngster, since I was like 5 years old. It's 32 years of this, okay? And each and every year, you see other teams with success. You see great playoff football. You see great performances, okay? I found myself, you know, a guy that hated Aaron Rodgers 3 years ago. I just wanted him to suffer the worst defeats. I wanted him to be injured all the time. Then this postseason happens, and I see what he does in the pressure moments. I see now step one. A couple years back, you know, the pressure gets hot. He steps up to the microphone and he's just like, relax, I got this. Continued success. He wins a Super Bowl, okay? Now, this is a guy that was, you know, embarrassed in the green room, pushed over, things like that. He battled adversity, and I think that's what made him successful. Now, this year, again, people are questioning him. What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? What's going on, right? And people are like, what the heck's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Is he done? Everyone's trying to predict his impending doom, right? He's like, guys, we're going to win it out. We're just going to, you know, ride it out. He's just going to, you know, I get it. But then I saw the performance versus Dallas and what we were able to do versus Dallas. I love Aaron Rodgers.
I hate you.
I'm the guy that he got me.
The biggest.
He won me over.
Garbage.
He won me over.
Biggest piece of garbage.
Jason,
I get any other team. I get if you want to root for Matt Ryan and the Falcons. I get if you want to root for the Cowboys. I think they're a good story. Green Bay is in your division. Aaron Rodgers, twice a year, is always murdering your team. The pass back and forth.
Jason,
I hate you so
Jason,
much.
he's
John,
cool under pressure.
Much.
He's cool under pressure. There's a constant Stafford-Rodgers debate. You see what he's able to do with the talent that he has. His running backs are Michael and Montgomery. Look what he's able to do. Granted, he's also got an unbelievably stunning wife and her girlfriend, Olivia Munn, who I'm a big fan of personally. But when you look at Aaron Rodgers as a performer, as a quarterback, as a leader, that's what we're starving for. I'm seeing it. Okay, I don't like Tom Brady because I'm a State guy.
Fan.
I'm a Lions fan, diehard.
Your card, I revoke your card.
Absolutely
as a
not.
Lions fan.
If Aaron Rodgers is playing the Lions, I want Aaron Rodgers to tear his ACL. But the Lions are done. There's nothing I can do.
It's the equivalent of a Michigan State fan
Absolutely
rooting
not.
for Michigan.
Absolutely not. All I'm saying
is.
All I'm saying is I have a respect level for Aaron Rodgers.
It's okay to have respect.
I have respect for him, and I want him to do well.
That's okay. You can have respect. You hate him and you root for him to lose every single time. Is that not what you do for Michigan? You root for Michigan to lose every single game.
Of course. I don't have respect. They will never, they could win 15 national titles in a row. They will never have my respect.
See, I have respect for Jim Harbaugh and what he's done on his team so far.
You want to know why?
I hate him and I want them to lose every single game.
See, Jason, you're ignoring the whole story. You're just making your point. The reason why that you saw those fans at the bar cheering is every year that the Lions hurt you, it chips away at your spirit. I mean, literally, you're asking me to be abused and punched and fall on the floor and just stay there and wallow in my pity year after year after year. I want to say to myself, you know what? There's a guy out there in our division that could have been what we could have had. Stafford could have been Aaron Rodgers, but he's not.
That's exactly the same thing with Michigan and Michigan State.
But Michigan State now.
For so long, Michigan State was in the gutter, and we were always the team that was looking up. And Michigan was that team who was always at the top of the Big Ten. You never root for Big Ten. You never root for Michigan.
Never root for Michigan. You know why? Because Michigan State, in my lifetime in terms of basketball and now football, has given me some sense of joy. Don't you remember when they won the Rose Bowl?
So the Lions have never given you any sense of joy, ever.
In the regular season, I have moments where they win games, but in terms of the playoffs, around the time of December and January, it's all bad.
Okay, so
bad.
Before D'Antonio, then, you're saying that you had the same outlook.
Yes,
you didn't have the same type of success before.
Yes, we did, Jason. Nick Saban graced the presence of college football at Michigan State, and they won 10 games. And from I think it was 98. or 99 before he left. He won 10 games. He left, and then Bobby Williams won a bowl game versus Florida. So I got to see a little bit of the come up. And so with Michigan State, you never really had realistic belief that, they could do these things. That's what made the come up so great with Mark D'Antonio was there was a culmination, and we got a Rose Bowl victory. We got into the college football playoff. We had the drive versus Iowa. There's tangible emotional attachment allowing me to hate Michigan. With the Lions, it's all I go into the ring, I get drop kicked out of the ring. I walk back to the ring, I get drop kicked out. Dude, you see Green Bay.
You haven't waited long enough.
It's been 32 years. How much?
How long did it take you for Michigan State?
Okay, if you want to call me weak and you want to say that my limit was 32 years and then I gave up, hey, that's my limit. Everybody has their own limit. If you're a guy that's ride or die, never cheer for anybody else, never takes a big team.
I'm not saying to cheer for anybody else. I'm saying specifically the Packers, the team that is in your division. You see them 2 times a year. Well, I mean, how long did we not win in Green Bay for so long with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Flynn? It's all the same. It's exactly the same. Lions, Packers, Michigan State, Michigan.
And see, that's what I don't like about what's going on in the world today. There's a competition and there's a judgment based upon the rules of fandom. There's no rules. I live in Detroit. I root for Detroit. I don't have a B team. All I'm saying is I respect great performances and I respect Aaron Rodgers for what he's done. I don't support the Packers.
Hey, do you? You said you want to see him succeed.
I want to see Aaron Rodgers continue to perform well, entertain me, and throw the ball.
So that's not just respect. You're rooting for the Packers.
Listen, man, all I got to say is this. Aaron Rodgers has done enough to win my respect. And with that, when he goes up against Atlanta, I hope the Super Bowl this year will be Green Bay versus New England. That'll be the best matchup, and that'll settle some talk because there is a sprinkling of debates between Rodgers and Tom Brady. And all I want to say is that Stafford's nowhere near that conversation, and Aaron Rodgers is, and I want to see it, and I want to see, him continue to succeed because the dude has brass balls, and he does things as a quarterback that I want to see from my guy, and I don't see it. So I'm starving, and he provides, even if it's a mirage, he provides me an opportunity to release my thirst. If it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Aaron Rodgers, not Matthew Stafford. That's for sure.
Well, John's a Packers fan. Let's take a quick break because I'm tired of your crazy Lions talk of wanting to just completely blow up the team, and you want to bring Aaron Rodgers here. I'm sure that's the next thing is that you want to trade for somehow to get Aaron Rodgers, which I love, but we're not playing Madden football here.
I would love Aaron Rodgers to come here because I would literally, this year, before we go to break, literally cringe at the articles that said, at this point in time, Stafford's better than, Aaron Rodgers. And I would just cringe at any outlet that I saw that at because all you got to say is playoff success. He's got playoff wins. He's been in the postseason. He's made throws. He's gotten touchdowns. I don't care what his current stats are. I would take Aaron Rodgers now and give him 10 years, 150 over Matthew Stafford. And I'm willing to make the debate. I'm willing to make the debate that I would even sign Tom Brady right now for 5 years, and he might have more success than Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but this isn't fantasy football. We're in real life where we actually have to live by the real NFL rules. But let's take a break. Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
All right, Jason. You can hear spirited debates like that every single day of the week if you go to DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's the hub of the operation here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We've been around since September of 2013. The studio lights, the office mics, the equipment, all provided by your support, and we greatly appreciate it. We've grown this thing organically, and how we've grown it is simple. If you like what you're listening to, just tell 1 or 2 other people, hey, check out the fellas at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. You can follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Go check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, for all the news and notes about who's doing the shows, when they air, our coverage of college basketball, our increased coverage of the Pistons and Lions and things like that. All great happenings here, and I love working with the fellas, the crew here, Jason, Vito, Brandon, everybody that's associated with the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, my cousin Adam. Everybody associated with this project, I have fond respect for, and we're doing great things, and we can't keep doing it without your support, and so I greatly appreciate it. If you like what you're listening to, go check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Get down with it,
I can be a lifesaver. Treat me like a jawbreaker. You got 31
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. John, I think you want to talk about some social media gaffes in the NFL, don't you?
I do, but before we talk about social media gaffes, it does play into it a little bit in that you almost have yourself a viral video doing great things over there at 105.1 The Bounce. And I'm checking through, from time to time, I check through Facebook to see what people are up to and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I think your wife shared it. And these are antics I saw at your job. I want to play it for a second. I want to get your story and what the heck's going on here with you and your colleague, because this is an interesting video. It's got some hits. First of all, I didn't know the song that you were jamming out to. Set the scene here. You're at work. Your colleague there is setting the stage up, and you were busting a groove. And I'm going to play it right here. You take me through it a little bit after.
This booty mix is crazy. DJ Jinx on the ones and twos. My homeboy Jason up in here. Get it, Jason. Hey, go, Jason. Go, Jason. Go, Jason. Go, 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 go.
Now you're busting a move in your chair there.
Go, Jason! When you dancing at your desk, you know what's the best, man. This Sugar Rush mix is crazy!
That was awesome, Jason. I saw that. I'm like, look at him busting a groove. First of all, set the scene. Who was that, and what on earth were you doing?
That was the host of the midday show at 105.1 The Bounce, Sugar Ray. She's great. I mean, she's got so much personality. She's so great to work with. But yeah, it's from 12 to 1. From 12 to 1, we have a DJ do a mix, and Fridays are generally we play what you would call a booty mix. And I don't know the name of the song, but it's hard to describe a booty mix because it's just something that you play and it just, you pop your head. I know it's something visual, but you play it and it's just like, it's something that you feel it in your body and you just gotta move. So yeah, we wanted to put a video on there. She's done a couple where she's been dancing during one of the mixes. So she wanted to get me involved, and I think if I would have gotten up and actually danced, I think it might have broken the internet. So I just kept it contained to my chair, and then I got the spin around in there, and it was just natural.
Yeah, while we're talking about social media, look up her social media Twitter page, and I'll definitely tag her in it because that is an awesome video. You guys deserve the credit, and you do good work over there at 105.1 The Bounce. I laughed, and right away I shared it, and I think it got a couple extra hits for you guys, and it's good. That's what I like. You guys have good chemistry, and she seemed genuinely excited, and you were busting a groove. And if you want, go check out our Facebook page, John Charles Macaroon, the Detroit Sports Podcast. You can go see Jason, and maybe I'll post it here on Twitter as well. But let me know what her Twitter page is, and we'll show her some love and tag her and let her know that you're doing a podcast and we're showing a love. So I put out a tweet here on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Do you know what a booty mix is? Find out tomorrow, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, and I'll tag her in it once you let me know. But what we're talking about social media wise is that after the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to defeat Kansas City, Antonio Brown goes into the locker room. It's festive. He's having a good old time. Does he celebrate with his teammates? Does he kind of talk to the media, keep it low key? Absolutely not. What does he do? He fires up his phone and turns on Facebook Live and is streaming his reactions. All the guys are posing. But what's made news is he kept the stream going, and he maybe broke code in terms of allowing others to see what head coach Mike Tomlin was saying. And Mike Tomlin called the Patriots assholes. And it's kind of sparked off a little bit of debate, kind of calling Antonio Brown selfish. He broke the code of the locker room. And people have talked about that a little bit, similar to what the Lakers had issues with the code of what you're supposed to do and not do in the locker room. And for me, I don't know why people are hating. I'm surprised it took this long with the advent of Facebook Live, Periscope, that somebody didn't do this much sooner.
Exactly. That's my first thought, is that it's very surprising that we haven't seen this before, that we haven't gotten just some crazy live stream from a random player, and to have it actually come from one of the top players in the NFL, it's not that surprising. And I think people are making a big deal of it, of them calling them assholes. He could have called them a lot worse stuff. He could have gone on, but just to call them assholes, it's not that bad. I'm sure that the Patriots call the Steelers assholes. So in the grand scheme of things, I think it's very mild what Mike Tomlin said, but it does open up the doors to maybe see something in the future, something more.
Absolutely not, Jason. It's going to be locked down. And that's why the NFL is a no-fun league. What's going to happen is check your cell phones at the door. Just like the media has to wait 10 minutes, you got to wait 10 minutes till after the game to get your cell phone back. Because you cannot have accidentally, junk shots being sent out there of the internet, guys clowning around, things like that, things being said that maybe you don't want absolutely under no circumstances being talked about. Maybe you're talking about another player, another performance, another coach. And why I don't blame them is you got to remember, there's a cool down period before the media is ever allowed to walk into the room, okay? Because, and it might not even be long enough. Players are embattled. They just come off of a strong performance. The adrenaline's pumping. So I could see where they're not exactly thinking straight. So it's not to say that, he's not responsible for what he says and does. But what I would say is, if I like to see that kind of stuff, but the potential in terms of the cons outweigh the pros, in my opinion, by a lot. Because of the adrenaline, because of the impulsivity, there's going to be things that are done and said that might surprise a lot of people. But, Donald Trump said it. It's just locker room talk. That's all it is. It's locker room talk. And when your adrenaline's pumping 10 minutes after, if you watch the video, he's just screaming, yelling, hollering.
He's getting his team pumped up. They just got a big win. They're going on to the AFC Championship game against one of the best teams in the league. So it's like, as I said, this is very, very timid. He didn't drop a bunch of F-bombs, or maybe he did. I think he might have dropped an F-bomb, but whatever. Still,
well, the whole video is damn near 17 minutes long. I just couldn't sit through it all. I just want to see the part.
But it wasn't all Mike Tomlin.
No, it wasn't. It was him celebrating, cheering. And did you see the boom guy was like, "Hey, did you shower already?" Yeah. That was cool when he was kind of fronting there. But it was interesting to see. But I don't think that it's something where I think the organizations aren't going to tolerate that too much longer.
Yeah, and I don't think you're necessarily going to see the NFL come out and say this. I think this is going to it'll be handled within the team. Mike Tomlin will talk to Antonio Brown and be like, "Hey, dude, maybe don't, broadcast what I'm saying to you immediately after the games, just in case there might be some, secret talk. Maybe we're discussing the play that's actually going to win the game for us." So, it might be the first time, and it might be the last time. But
do you think if it was allowed that people would use it properly? Because you could get that sponsored. Oh my gosh, post game by Antonio Brown, sponsored by Chevy. Oh my God!
If anyone's going to do it, I think the NFL and the teams will do it themselves. Just put out.
They do already.
Yeah, I can totally see the Detroit Lions on their official Twitter or Facebook just going live and running the post-game talk.
If you follow the Twitter page of the Lions, they definitely selectively put out their quotes from Jim Caldwell following victories. It's PR. That's the part I don't like now, kind of starting my little initial journey. I'm basically calling myself an intern journalist right now, or intern media member. And a lot of the press conferences is just content for websites. And that's all it really is. And that's what it is moving towards more and more, where a lot of the people asking the questions are employees of the team. So it's, working out that way. And the Lions have 3 people, Tim Twentyman, Mike O'Hara, and, the young lady, Tori Petrie, or I believe that's her name. She works for the Lions, and they put out content and things like that. And, it's PR. So I like to see more independent journalist type stuff. But hey, if players could get it sponsored, or they could maybe do something positively with it, I think it's fun, but I'm not exactly sure if the country's ready to see a little bit what people might do, because it might be a little bit vile. It might be just a bunch of dancing and clowning on the opponent or something like that. But it'd be interesting to see what would happen if more cameras were allowed. But it did send a little bit of a shockwave in terms of social media, because a lot of people have an opinion about it. And, for me, I like to see it. It was interesting, but I do see the cons. And I do see that teams are not going to stand for this. Probably too much more.
And I think more, you don't want to give locker room, you don't want to give billboard material to anybody. You don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably the biggest thing you see, is that, they called them assholes, and they had a head start on us. That for, in some way, he's insinuating that the Patriots are getting a head start or a leg up on the Steelers, when a day and a half probably wasn't going to change a whole lot for them. So that's probably the biggest thing, is that guys don't want to give that, the bulletin board material, to give them that extra incentive to come out and play hard and hit them, hit them a little bit harder, maybe go a little bit below the belt. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with this.
All right. To end this podcast, obviously, right now, a lot of people have talked about the state of Detroit sports. Right now, it's the Red Wings, a little bit of an uptick with, playing well right now versus Montreal. As we're recording this, the Tigers are about to enter into the phase of starting up spring training and getting that revved up. The Lions and Pistons, the Lions, we're trying to move away from them a little bit. We're decompressing and debriefing and talking more and more about the future, and that's what we'll do on future episodes of the podcast. But what will happen is now, many people are commenting, and we've done it, well ahead of everybody else. We did it 6 months ago, and we do it periodically where we just talk about the state of Detroit teams. So we've been way ahead of this, and we've talked about, last week the Ticket did a topic about our Detroit sports stale, and how we did it, how we approached it. We just kind of did a state of Detroit sports, and we just said that, everybody's just kind of mediocre. And when you look at it, I don't know if it was you or somebody else asked me, the standard question, do you make resolutions, and do you have a resolution for all the teams in Detroit? And my resolution was, I want to fire everybody. SVG, Jeff Blashill, Jim Caldwell, and Brad Ausmus, all gone. Start over anew. These 4 guys, really, if you rank them all, they're all the same. All mediocre coaches that are not getting what we need out of their performances. And a lot of these teams have kind of they've plateaued. And I'm not going to use the word stale because I'm very interested in all of them. They all have peaks and valleys and things like that. And that's why you watch during individual season to see the peaks and valleys. But it's time right now to expect more, to get and earn a higher level of coaching for these teams. And right now, it just seems like the coaches that are running the teams are all mediocre. That's the word.
So, what are you? That's my question. Is what, as a Detroit sports fan, what are you most excited for? Because right now, no Lions. The Pistons are in a slump. They're still only a couple games out of the 8th spot. But more than likely, even if they do somehow get into that 8th spot, they're going to run into the freight train that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Red Wings, they're 8 points back from being in the wild card. So it's going to be a tough hill for them to climb the rest of this year. This is probably the best chance you're going to get of them missing the postseason this year. And then you got the Tigers coming, and going back even to college sports. Michigan State, they were looked at as being one of the top contenders for the college basketball championship, and they just keep losing random games to teams that they have no business losing to. And Michigan, they're not really a powerhouse in college basketball anymore. So what really gets you excited? And I'm actually finding myself, I'm excited for what hasn't happened yet, and that's the Tigers right now. The Tigers, we're weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training, and just getting another Tiger season underway. And it may be short-lived where they get off to a slow start, but I see a lot of the players that they had from last year coming back, and maybe, just maybe, they could be the beacon of hope for this city.
You know what, Jason? I'm an idiot. You know what I did? I was wondering why my phone blew up in the last 5 minutes. I tweeted out my cell phone number to the podcast universe. Gosh darn it, Jason. I was wondering, usually I get some response, but my phone was blowing up the last couple minutes. I'm like hitting the button. I'm like, what's going on here? Usually I don't get that many calls on a random Monday between 3 and 5. And I'm like, I looked at the Twitter and I tweeted out my cell phone number instead of the podcast number here.
Good job, John.
I'm going to text this guy back and see if that was what he called, because maybe we'll get a phone call here quickly. But what I'm looking for in terms of Detroit sports.
No, what are you just most excited to actually see?
That's what I'm saying, is that there's not a lot. Right now, we're in the thrones of college basketball. I like the story of what's going on with Oakland basketball, being that I'm out there a lot. They've got a lot of wins, and they're a team that can shoot the ball.
Even though they just lost to UDM.
It's a rivalry game.
They were like 2-14, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Oh, man, that's a heartbreaking loss right there.
Yeah, it was a tough loss, but it was a rivalry game. In any rivalry game, there's a chance for an upset. But right now, March Madness is what I'm looking at. I'm definitely big on wrestling. But in terms of Detroit sports, I'm somebody that is just kind of, I guess I'm just kind of patiently waiting to see the NFL draft. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to...
So you're even going as far out as the draft.
Actually, you know what? Right now, the Combine's up next in terms of preparing people for what's upcoming. So I'm looking forward to the senior activities, the Senior Bowl, stuff like that, and I'm looking forward to the NFL draft. That's what I'm excited about.
So you must not be too high on the Tigers. There'll be some interesting talk in the weeks ahead, right?
Yes, sir. There's gonna be some interesting talks. What are you most excited about? Because I think what you said,
like I just said, it was the Tigers, man.
I'm shocked you said that.
You're over there busy looking at your phone because you tweeted out your phone number. You didn't even listen to what I said.
But because you know what, I was when I heard it the first time, I was in complete denial off mic, and now that I heard it, I just totally tuned it out. Why are you excited about the Tigers, man? It's the same team, same results.
Exactly.
What was the record last year?
Team.
87 wins or so. I'll give them the same record. 87 wins and no playoffs.
Maybe you get a full season of Michael Fulmer. Maybe some of those other guys, Daniel Norris. Maybe you got some pitchers down there in the minor leagues. I'm sure Vito could probably rattle off some names better than I could. But it's renewed hope.
Oh, renewed hope. Are you kidding me?
It's a new team.
It's a new team with the same players?
It's a new season. I'm always gonna go back to, I'm more excited seeing a team that's 0-0 and to see what they're going to do, because I'm not going to just go in preconceived that they're going to just completely lose this season. I think there's a very good chance that they do a lot of the same stuff that they had last year, but what if, all the what ifs, I think that's what you're most excited about. And I think that couples with the draft is all those players that could be on your team. It's a bunch of what ifs. So I think both of those things are two really exciting things for Detroit sports fans, because the Red Wings more than likely are going to miss the playoffs. It's not very exciting. I think for the Red Wings, you're probably most excited to get a peek at the new arena, the LCA, with the Pistons. Man, the Pistons.
There's not much, Jason. No. So I think that the Lions are always number one around here. They're always going to dominate. So it's just one of those things where that's what I'm going to choose to invest in. The Tigers, I mean, wait and see. I'm going to obviously pay attention to the month of April, see what's going on with them.
Well, I mean, I know you as a fan, you're excited for next week because you're going to be rooting for the Packers.
Yeah. See, that's the best. If anyone wants to know.
You're so excited to see Aaron Rodgers go out there with
Jason, a little edgy here. I'll tell you something.
Beautiful blue eyes.
I had an opportunity, I believe in 2013 or 2014, to go out to Vegas this weekend. And you know what goes on this weekend in Vegas besides that great Sunday where there's the AFC title game and the NFC title game? You know what goes on? The Adult Video News Awards. And all the adult film stars end up going there. And I was just, regular guy, just hanging out at the Hard Rock. And the sights that I saw that weekend, I probably will be forever ingrained in my memory in a good way. So if you ever get a chance, if you want to do something on a bucket list and create something new, go out to Vegas the week of the NFC AFC title game, because the bars are all hopping. The weather was great, and it was something where I had the best time, and it was super expensive. But when you pitch in with 5 or 6 guys, you can kind of keep it reasonable. But to sit in the Hard Rock in Vegas to watch the NFC and AFC title games was an experience that was awesome, because you could have action at the half. I'm not a really big betting guy, but I know if you're a betting guy and you're listening to this, you know that whatever action that you have on the game, you can double down or add more action at half. The vibe was unbelievable. The scenes were crazy. And Vegas, anytime you go can have that party scene. But around the time of the last week in January, around the AFC NFC title games, you got to check out the bars and the awesome sports books. And if you're not down with the other stuff I talked about, that's fine too. But if you ever go into some of these sports books, I don't know how I got out. Literally how I got out. All the TV screens, all the action, the vibe. It's something that sticks with me today, and I will always bring it up that weekend, that Sunday, was probably the best day watching football I probably ever had.
Well, with a baby on the way, it may be about 18 years until I'm able to do that. But that's going to wrap it up for this
After
episode.
1 year, your baby, you might be out there next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. Thanks for tuning in. For John Macaroon, I'm Jason Jarvie, and we'll talk to you next week.
My homeboy Jason up in here.
Okay, nice idiot. F you. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.
No!